If I'm not aware of what the pecking order is or what my priorities are, then those decisions become hard, especially when other people are involved. Especially when other people are trying to manipulate and influence your decisions based on their values, based on their desires. Hard decisions and challenging moments are what make the man. Now, you may not want to hear that. That may not be the thing that you wanted to hear right now, especially if you've got a really big challenge or opportunity that's facing you in your life right now that you don't know what to do. How many times in our lives, especially as we get older and become more independent, more self-reliant, do we have to make decisions where there's no clear win-win answer? Now, I remember when I first stepped onto my men's team, I was 25 years old. I was just really beginning to step out into the world and take on more responsibility for myself, more responsibility for my community. I was beginning partnership with my future wife, but girlfriend at the time. And the nature of the decisions I had to make was starting to become noticeably more difficult. Now, at the time, I was on a team with men who were twice my age, so they got a lot of entertainment out of watching me struggle between decision making. But I realized that what I was looking for at that time was the clear, obvious answer. And in reflection over the years, I see that that was just the way that I'd learned to do things. Either someone was always making decisions for me, whether it was my mom, my dad, my brothers, my friends, girlfriends that I let influence my decision making, or the decisions were really easy to make. What do I want to eat for lunch? What do I want to do right now? What TV show do I want to watch? The complexity of our decisions increases exponentially over time relative to the responsibility we take on. So by the time you and I start to have intimate relationships, starting to consider partnership, family, career, self-expression in the world, the decisions that we have to make become more and more difficult. And it's also directly related to the volume of responsibilities we have. This is why it's important for each one of us to know what our priorities are. Even more importantly, to know, what do I value? What do I care about the most? Because life is only going to present more and more challenges, hard decisions that we get to make. And the way that we encounter and engage with those decisions reflects who we are. If I value family and community above everything else, then there's no way that I'm going to choose going off and splitting and doing something that I want to do for me when I have an opportunity to go and be present with my family. If I'm not aware of what the pecking order is or what my priorities are, then those decisions become hard, especially when other people are involved. Especially when other people are trying to manipulate and influence your decisions based on their values, based on their desires. So life is fraught with these decisions, these moments where character-defining moments, really, where we get to decide for ourselves what matters to me and what do I want? What is it that I want right now? What matches the life that I want to create for myself, the reality I want to create for myself? What are my commitments? What am I committed to in this moment? And how does that inform the decision that I have to make? And this is the kicker. This is definitely the thing that you didn't want to hear when this podcast episode started, is that a lot of times there's going to be consequences for your decisions that were unavoidable. Or the only way to avoid them would have been further selling out the things that matter to you. Enter the people pleaser. Those of us who make decisions based on what we think people want. Make decisions based on external factors, external variables, and ultimately selling out internally what I desire. Now, I may have to make that decision to go and work out at the gym when my wife wants to have a date night. But because of what I'm committed to, because of the value that I hold for myself, I've got to say no, not tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm available, but tonight, no. We got to risk somebody not liking the idea that we have or the way that we go about making our decision making. These are all consequences and costs that we have to be willing to face off with in order for us to honor what's true within me, what I'm committed to, what I'm up to, and ultimately who I am. Because the decisions that we make, especially the hard decisions that we make and the way that we make decisions, is what defines us as men. Literally, I can take you right now who's listening to this podcast, and I can look at the decisions you've made in all of the areas of your life, with relationships, with finances, with the food that you eat, the way that you manage your health, every variable, every domain of your life, and I can look at your decision making and I can tell you who you are. It'll give me an idea of who you are, what matters to you, and what you care about. And ultimately, actions and decisions inform us more about who we are and how we're showing up than what we say. There's another thing. A lot of us will talk the talk and say all of the right things at the right time. But when it comes down to our actions and the decisions that we make, That's where you really get to know somebody. That's where you really get to see who you are and what you're made of. So let this information land. And if you're in a moment of life where you're facing a hard decision and there's no clear, obvious right answer that everybody wins with, including you, then let me be the first to welcome you to manhood. Let me be the first to welcome you to adulthood. This is the rest of your life and my life and our lives, is making difficult decisions that reflect what we care about the most. But if you learn to accept that, and you appreciate that that's an inevitability instead of something that can be avoided, then maybe you look at making decisions differently. And you start to set yourself up so that decision making is more clear than it's ever been before. And if you want to learn more about decision making and how to identify your values and your commitments, then come check out what we have to offer here in the Rising Man community. It's a huge core of what we do here. Identifying commitments, values, vision, purpose, because those are the things that don't make the decision-making process easier, but it does make it more simple. When you know your commitments, your values, the things that you care about, the things that matter most, what your mission is, what your purpose is, what you're here to do, there's not so much struggle with the decisions. You know what you have to do, and it's easier to just step right into it. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode here, this Monday morning meditation. Go check us out over at risingman.com and make sure that you guys subscribe so that you get the latest downloads and episodes each and every week. Much love, y'all.